Sam obviously had the families and the kids out there. Who did the kids gravitate to as a player? Was it yourself or someone else?
Well, I asked them, we sort of needed to give a bit of time to the coaches and the players to set up the drills. So I just whispered, who's your favourite player? And a couple of them said CJ. So that was code for whoever they said was going to get tackled to the ground. So poor old CJ got that one today, but that's what comes with being the favourite player. So certainly he's a crowd favourite.
Something like today is just about breaking up pre-season and making everyone feel involved.
Yeah, I think when you work in a football club, there's so many stakeholders and people involved, and I think what happens is through the COVID years, you kind of lost a bit of connection with different groups, and even this time last year it was still so prevalent, and all of our staff that have been working remotely and doing all those things away, they probably lost a little bit of connection to the club, and so trying to rebrand that and get that sense of belonging back within our group. And certainly as a playing group, a coaching group, a football department, it's reasonably easy, but as a staff sometimes you don't feel connected to the footy club and the actual team. And so getting the staff who work so hard to put us out there and to give us everything we need, they're spending endless hours doing all that, and so to give their kids something and run around with them and their friends, and James Warple was his birthday today, so he brought his brother for a training session. Little things like that I think go a long way to making it a genuine footy club.
That connection you're talking about in terms of driving it on field this year, who is doing it, given you've been so much talk about the leaders and the experience that's gone out the door? Yeah,
it's really interesting. I mean, thinking about that a lot and go back to my early days, and I remember when Shane Crawford retired, and it was like the whole how is this club going to run without Shane Crawford? And it was quite amazing that losing someone of such significance as him, at every club they find their equilibrium when they come back. And this year, we lost some experienced players and some good players, of course, but the group come together. There's 40 odd players, and they just find this groove and they find this equilibrium. They find an energy, and I think already last year we spent a lot of time energising the group and flattening that leadership to get a lot of growth from a lot of different guys, and we've seen that continue on. I've been really pleased with that, and we go on camp next week where we'll start to knuckle down on what the process and the structure of our leadership program looks like for the year. But certainly I'm pleased with the growth in that area over the last month or two since we've come back.
Can you talk us through that process and when you expect to appoint Ben McAvoy's replacement?
Yeah, the process, we'll go through it. We've got a camp down in Gippsland next week, so we'll spend 4 days down there, and we'll do a few things. And I think a lot of that will be around leadership, and it's not like I don't think we'll have a leadership vote, as in who do you want your captain to be, who do you want your leadership group to be. We won't do it as plainly as that. It'll be a discussion, a lot of what do we stand for, what do we want to achieve, who's the best people to take us there in different areas, because you don't need to be a master of everything to be a captain of a footy club. You need to be strong in a couple of areas and know how to get other people to help you in others. And so long as our players have a great understanding of the things that we need as a football club to go where we plan to, then I think collectively we'll make some decisions after that camp, I'd imagine.
Externally, the view is James Sicily is the standout candidate. Is it the view internally, or have you got a number of options that are around that mark?
I'm pretty confident that there's a few options. It's obvious on the external that James Sicily is the big obvious one, but certainly there's a lot of players who I wouldn't underestimate their influence on our group, and it's really difficult. You look at any football club from the outside and you can't really tell. You see what they do on the field only, but it's such a small portion of what happens. So I think what you need to look at is the collective understanding of the group and the direction that we're going and what we need to take us on that next step for our journey.
Sam, you've been through the process of appointing captains as a player, and then you've seen it at different clubs. Do you have an idea of specific things that you want, and are you going to do it your own way, or will you go back to things that you've seen previously?
A little bit of both. I think you have so much wisdom in a football club. So there's me as a head coach who, technically could do it all, but I've got, there's 7 or 8 coaches. Some guy like Chris Newman's on our coaching staff. He captained Richmond for, I think, 4 years. David Hale's obviously been at Freo and seen a lot of what they did. You got Cade Simpson, who's 380 games or something for Carlton. So he's seen all that process. So looking at what they've done and speaking with them, and that's just in the football department. There's all these people that have great leadership understanding that's a bigger, and so what we try to do is get that share that meaning that we all have and pull it all together and come up with the best ideas, and really we talk about it with the players. It's not you choose it or we choose it. We just discuss it together, and it'll be a discussion-based forum, and we'll have a good chat about it as a playing group, coaching group, and then we'll take it up the chain from there.
So with such the values and I guess the traits that you view as most.
I mean, I guess you're asking me the definition of leadership, and everyone's will be a little bit different, and I'll probably keep exactly what we're after internal, but I mean they're not groundbreaking. I would say you want leaders of your football club as people that you aspire to be like them. So
Sam, with such a young group that you have at the moment, how do you balance that? Expectations, how you perform next season with such a young group that you're seeing at the moment.
Don't go too far forward. To be fair, we're not talking about where we want to finish or how many games we want to win. I don't imagine I'll ever be that type. I think the way that I like to go about it is much more process driven. What did we did a bit of match play yesterday? What did we do well in that? What do we need to improve? What's the next step forward for us? How can we break the boundary and break the barriers on our progress? And what we've said to this group all along is there's no speed limit on where we're going. So we're a young group, and young coaching group, young playing group, but that doesn't put any sort of speed limit on where we want to go. I think our playing group are really clear on the direction and the desire that we have to go to the top and to stay there. And there's not a quick, easy fix to get there, and we know it'll take hard work. But there's nothing that says we can't do it straight away. And there's nothing that says it's going to take 6 or 7 years or anything like that. So it's just up to us to go as fast as we can in that process and see how quickly we can get there.
And how have you seen the draftees perform, particularly Mackenzie, early days?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of the draftees have had good moments. The two lads we took early, so Cam Mackenzie and Josh Weddle, both don't look out of place in our match play. So they both really, doing some things, and you're like, oh, I can see why they went as early players. And so they've both been, in really good form and played some good footy. Still learning. When you go back and watch the tape, sometimes there's some stuff you're like, oh yeah, I keep forgetting that he's only 18. And then the other guys that we've drafted, even a guy like Henry Huswaite, I think he was picked 37. He, just in match play yesterday, just did a couple of things, and you're like, there's some pretty special talent, and you got to bring all those together and put it all together. But I think the draftees over the last 2 seasons have got there's quite a big cohort of them. There's sort of about 14 or 15 guys that have come in over the last sort of 18 months, and I think that group, they're all at the front of the running. They're all really hard workers as last off the track types, and what that has done is created a great environment for improvement and work ethic. And a few of the guys that have been around a little bit longer are like, oh, okay, there's a bit of a step for us, and now that we've collectively taken that, I think it puts us in, it accelerates our progression.
What have you seen from James Hawthorn this pre-season? Obviously he was the first couple of years ago and sort of a bit up and down. Is this the type of year we could go in and explode in midfield alongside those younger guys in Ward and midfield?
Yeah, I mean, we hope every player lives up to their maximum, and I think with Warps, it's his birthday today, so shout out to him. But he's been in really good, strong form, and he seems to have this level of confidence about him at the moment. And breaking. Everyone is in great form, and it's the best pre-season they've ever had, and they're fitter than they've ever been. Everyone is going to say that. Every club you go to, they're going to be so happy with where they're at right now. But I think he can genuinely look in the mirror and say, I'm going pretty well at the minute. But you're only as good as your last session. He wasn't quite as sharp yesterday as last week, so that's his challenge, and he'll back up again tomorrow or the next day and see how he can go. And I think he's making significant steps in the right direction to be the player that we all think he can be.
We have to go to work a little bit.
You go, Drew. Oh, so if you're throwing any magnets around, trying guys in new spots, is anything stood out to you?
I don't think so. I think everyone's playing. I mean, there's a few. I mean, we bring in a guy like Carl, and he's been, he plays the wing a bit differently to, say, a Harry Morrison. And so learning from him about how he's playing it. And then, so are we changing the magnets? Not really. I don't think off the top of my head, anyone's had a significant positional change. There's lots of players who are, I think once you master a position, you can start to try something else. I mean, we saw a little bit of that last year with, someone like Dylan Moore, who's been a small forward and then went into the midfield at times towards the end of the year, or Will Day, He's probably the one who's gone into the midfield a bit more so far in the pre-season. But I think with the players, it's good for them to, when they're younger, to master one position, get comfortable, get that sense that they know what they're doing, they're really on top of things before they start to extend into other positions. So we're probably more at the consolidating their craft at this stage.
Has any of the three big boys put their nose in front in the ruck battle yet?
It's actually been really good to watch. Even Max Ramsden's probably a bit younger and coming from a little bit further back, but in the match play yesterday, he really troubled them with some of the stuff that he was doing. So I think with the four rucks, they've all got these different strengths. Ned Reeves is fantastic in the centre bounces, but not quite as mobile. And Mickey's a big, aggressive, but probably doesn't have quite as good a forward craft as say a Max Lynch, who's kicking a few goals in the training. So they've all got these different strengths and weaknesses. And I think when you've got genuine competition for spots, what it does is it creates this feeling of I need to perform, and that sense that they need to perform is so important for getting a group to get better as quickly as possible.
Can you play two in the same team? You did it a few times last year. Can you play two ruckmen in the same 22, 23?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. We did it a lot of the time last year when Ben came back and when we had two ruckmen available. It'll be an interesting, I think that'll be one of the things we do trial in the pre-season. We've only got a couple of games to trial it, but we will trial two and trial one and go on a bit smaller. And we did have a bit of trouble with the second ruck. You know, I think we're 18th in quite a lot of midfield statistics last year, and having the smaller second ruck probably was one of the reasons for that. So it'll be something we trial and see how we go. We're not locked onto one thing at this stage.
All right, thanks, guys.
Cheers, thanks guys.